So I think we have all of us. Me, Susan, Terry, Natalia, Sarah, Jan, Lauren, Cindy, and Nicole. So Mayor Junung isn't able to join us today. Right now, he's actually doing his Facebook Live update. So he's not able to join us, and I'm not sure if he's going to jump in late or how long that goes for. So we are all here. So welcome everyone to our second virtual meeting of the Social Recovery Task Force. So we do have a lot to cover, so we'll jump right in. Did everybody see the agenda?
Yeah.
Are there any additions or deletions? Everybody's happy? Can I get somebody to move that they'll accept the agenda? I think Lauren was first there. It'll be a race, you guys, to see who gets their name up. And Nicole also sent out the minutes as well. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at them? Are there any changes or corrections? Nope, Nicole does a fantastic job as always. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes as well? Natalia, she won the race this time, you guys. Perfect. So we'll move right into old business and review the public engagement survey that was sent out to you in draft form yesterday. So I do want to just start by giving some really special thanks to Terry Lauer and Nicole for all of their work. Terry literally researched surveys from across the country to take a look at what's happening in other areas, what are the questions that they're using. And Nicole used her mad computer skills to organize us and get them into the readable format that we were able to send out. So I just want to thank both of them for all their hard work. So I was thinking the best way for us to actually review the survey is probably go through each question individually and yay or nay or get input back. But before we start doing that, is there any general comment? Susan.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought the survey was excellent, well put together and very in-depth. It just wasn't what I was expecting. I thought we were reaching out to the local groups to partner with support agencies and find out what their needs were, the kind of gaps that they're finding. Do they have funding to move forward? Do they have personal gear for their agencies? Do they think their staff's coming back? Those are the kinds of things I had in my mind, because when I look back at the at the overall terms of reference, it was about collaborating with local support agencies, identifying service gaps and emerging needs, but building a support network. So I'm just, as much as these questions are awesome, I'm not sure what we're going to do with the results. Has anyone else got thoughts on that?
Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
Yeah, I would say that I think that's an excellent point, Susan, and the two sort of go hand in hand. So I think reaching out is like trying to figure out what the needs of our community is, or trying to determine what is going to be ongoing, while at the same time assessing the capacity of organizations. Like those two can sort of go hand in hand, but maybe on two different realms. Because I think to understand where we need to be as organizations, we need to really be able to understand our community as well.
So potentially looking at two surveys then. Is that what we're?
Well, then if we're doing this survey, should we be talking to mental health and some of the ones that are providing these services before we put it out? Because they might have other questions or concerns about the questions, and just making sure that each one of the questions is something we can do something about. Because you know the old thing about ask them and then they're going to expect you to fix it. So is it things that are within our mandate that we can look at and try to help with?
those are the questions that those are kind of the questions that we started asking ourselves when we were putting together the survey is, what do we want to know? Why do we care was one of our questions. And is this something that the task force can affect change on? And we tried to cover questions that we felt everyone in this room would be interested in. So right from food to housing to mental health to domestic violence to like just getting a general understanding of population and our residents' needs and some of their anticipated worries that they're concerned about to measure what's to come. We did very early, right after the meeting, Nicole and I did discuss doing an organizational survey as well, because the United Way has some really great questions that they're putting out to organizations. So we did talk about the need to survey our organizations as well, find out what their capacity is. Are the needs growing? Are people coming in with different needs to measure some of that? But we didn't have time to put together both surveys this week. But if that's something that we want to look towards, I mentioned it in interagency yesterday as well, that I said, I haven't gone to the task force with this idea. However, you can anticipate that a survey may be coming out to measure some of this. So we're happy to take a look at that over this next week.
I guess we didn't really have a chance to talk about it last time, and we all had our own ideas of what it was going to look like. So for me, it was a bigger picture and the agencies, and I just really wonder what some of the stuff, what we're going to do with it. But let's go through it anyway. Like I say, there's awesome questions there.
Yeah, well, and I think to Lauren's point too, it's almost a dual, we have to understand what those needs of the residents are as well, and understand the needs and the capacity of the organizations, right? Because that'll let us know, what do we need to do? Do we have capacity to deal with these needs, or do we actually need to grow and build capacity within organizations? So I think like a dual survey might be the way to go.
Okay.
Kim, just to add to Lauren's comment, I think as an organization, it's hard to know what your capacity is until you know what the needs are and what we're seeing. Because I know when this all first took place, it's like, well, where do you have the capacity? And it turned out to be something completely different that in a different area we needed to go into.
Yeah. Are there any other general comments before we dip in? So Nicole's going to share the survey on the screen so we can walk through it together. We'll go through question by question. Do ask these hard questions, you guys, like, what can we do with this? Is this something we can actually affect change? Because we don't want to be asking a bunch of questions that necessarily aren't relevant or that we can't impact. We started the survey out looking at mental health and personal well-being, because in our minds, we felt this was an important area to get a handle on and see how our residents are doing, to get a gauge. So it starts out with, over the past year, would you say your mental health and personal well-being is? And then excellent, very good, good, fair, poor, or other.
Is it the whole year we want to know, Kim, or just since this COVID hit?
Our rationale for starting with the whole year is to get a baseline of, in general, where were they prior to COVID? And then we can see if COVID's had a significant impact, but open to suggestions, you guys.
I like that idea, getting the baseline prior to COVID. I think that's a great idea, because there will definitively be a difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID, present COVID, right?
Did we specifically say how was your mental health pre-COVID then? Because if somebody went downhill in the last 2 months, they're going to be answering it too.
We can make that change if you'd like. make it clearer that it's pre-COVID?
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, just to add some clarity if that's the baseline that we're looking for, because it's a great question to ask.
Okay, yep, we can definitely make that shift. And sorry, I can't see everyone on the side. Cindy, were you talking first?
Yeah, that's
Oh.
okay. I find myself, I'm above you.
I think we all have different orders and I can't see everyone and I'm still just learning everybody's voices. So great, thanks for your comments. So number 2, we did a blanket question that asked a whole bunch of different things. So how concerned are you about the following impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic? And then they're all scaled from extremely concerned, very concerned, somewhat, to not at all. So we asked a question around my own physical health, my own mental and personal well-being, the amount of stress in my life, vulnerable family members' health, overloading the health system, family stress from confinement, loss of routine, disruption of day-to-day life, uncertainty about the future, accessing the essential goods that I need, increase in disagreements and conflict in my home, and violence in my home. Are there any there that anyone has concerns or comments, would like to delete, or areas to add?
The only thing I'd like to see added is an open-ended one, because there's nothing about kids in there. Maybe there's something specific that we don't think of that they'd like to add.
So Susan, would it be like a text box following saying, are there any other? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, either a line or a text box, whatever works best, just to say, what other concerns do you have?
Okay.
All good questions, though.
So number 3 is thinking about the current situation. Have you experienced any of the following? Feeling helpless toward the situation, loss of interest and pleasure in your daily activities, change in the quality or duration of your sleep, feeling more irritable or having moments of anger that you did not have before, moments of great anxiety, increased use of alcohol and drugs, or none of the above. And then there'll be an other with an area that they can type questions or type other issues that they may be experiencing.
Yeah, I like it. I would put alcohol or drugs instead of and drugs. Small thing, but
Nope, this is what we need, you guys. We need some critical eyes on this.
so from this, what would we do? Make a recommendation about mental health services, or what would we do with this information?
This is another question that's more geared towards understanding the mental health, depression, kind of where our residents are at in terms of mental health.
Okay.
Which of the following have had an impact? Sorry, are we good to move on from number 3? Okay. And please just jump in, you guys. Number 4 is which of the following have had an impact on your state of mind? News appearing in the media, managing my daily schedule, my financial situation, fear of being infected or infecting someone else, guidelines or instructions from the authorities, the situation of someone close to you, concerns about personal safety, none of the above, or other. Any feedback on that one?
Anybody? I don't really like that question myself. I don't know how other people feel, but we pretty much know that all those things are affecting everybody, don't we?
We, Susan, I think we do, but there's like varying degrees on how it affects everyone differently, right? Like,
This isn't going to give us that, though. It's a yes or no, like check all that apply. So we aren't going to know the varying degrees.
right?
Do we
I would say that collecting that information may be able to give us a baseline for some of the supports we might want to put in place for the community, some of the information sessions, or where we might focus some of our programming to bring information. Because I do think we make some assumptions about these, but we might be able to figure out, what the top ones are in the community.
Okay, I would just put a note beside it. If we decide the survey's too long, we could come back and have another look at it.
Could we add like a negative impact or significant impact? Because I know, like you're saying, Susan, it is on everybody's mind, but it's on your mind, but it's not really impacting your state of mind.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if we could add something in there to make it more of a significance or negative.
I like that. Mhm. What do you guys think?
Could we do a rating for each one or something like that? Of the significance?
So something similar to question, Nicole, can you scroll up to question 2? Like something like that, is scaling with them each beside?
Yeah, that might give us more of an idea of how much this is affecting their state of mind.
I like that.
Yeah? Okay. Number 5, how would you describe your sense of belonging to your local community? So you can see the scaling that we have. We thought this one was important just to get a sense of social connection. And if people feel that they have that sense of belonging, connection to their community.
Do you know if this one's written similar to the one we did in Cochrane Cares? It would be nice to kind of compare the answers and see if anything's changed since we did that one.
We can take a look. We did steal a couple questions we stole from everywhere across the entire country. So I can't remember if this one was that, but we can check, Susan, on wording and try to align it if it isn't exactly that one. Sorry, I'm taking copious notes here too. So number 6, in times of stress and need, this one is straight from Cochrane Cares survey. What are your top 3 networks of support, and rank them from 1 most important to 3 least important, to help us get an understanding of who exactly people are turning to in their times of need.
So are you asking them just to check off 3?
Yeah. What are your top 3 networks of support?
Good.
Consensus, we like that one. Number 7, have you used any of the following techniques more frequently to connect with family, friends, or other social groups outside your household? So phone, text, email, video chatting, social media, conversation 2 or more meters apart, or other. So to kind of gauge how communication, of course, has changed since COVID, and what modes are people using for that connection piece. We're good?
Good.
I don't know how long to sit in awkward silence, you guys, so let me know. Question number 8, do you have access to technology to connect with family, friends, or social groups outside your household? We thought this was important because one of the concerns that we have is, if you don't have technology, what does that look like? Is that a program that we need to start, or make sure that people have what they need to be able to do that.
So how are we distributing this? Is it online? Because then they have to have technology to use it.
We have in our new business, we were going to talk about some communication strategies. And I think we have quite a brilliant idea that, yeah, so you got to wait. I'm going to save it. I'm not going to spill it yet. So we have something really great to talk about under new business. But Terry came up with a really brilliant idea to reach those that don't necessarily have social media.
Good.
But
So
you're
you'll
putting
just have-
this in,
Pardon me?
but it's going in an survey that you're putting online. So
It-
they have to have technology. You have to have technology to do this survey. So you shouldn't really need a question like that in that survey.
But we have a plan for it to not just be online, Jen.
Okay, then.
So we wanted to see if that was a barrier. So yeah, we've come up with a way to get it out to people that may not have access to social media.
Okay.
We're really excited about it. Do you feel that you have access to mental health support? No questions, comments?
I'm just wondering if, like I have access, but that doesn't mean I need it or I want to go to it. So does it mean, do you know that there's mental health programs in our community? Is that what we're trying to get at?
Yes, and the ability to access them if you need it. Better wording?
Any other ideas?
More of an awareness question, maybe? Are you
Yeah.
aware of the mental health supports in the community?
What if we use
But
the word
yes.
can instead of have access? You can access.
Can you, sorry, one more time, Lauren?
Do you feel that you can access mental health supports? Because yeah, I guess you know that there are mental health supports there, but then sometimes there's barriers of accessing them.
I like both. Like it's a complicated question because do you feel that you have access is one question. Not everyone has a plan or money to access mental health support, whether they want to, reach out for the mental support. Have and can are really two different things, right? Having access to mental health support is one thing. Can you afford to go? Do you have a vehicle to get there? Involves other things that do you have access doesn't apply to, right?
So could we break out 2 yeses in that response? Yes, and I can access it, or yes, and I don't need to access it, or in some way like that.
I think we almost need to tell them what mental health support is, what we're talking about, because maybe their best friend is their mental health support or their partner, or they might not think of it as a formal program like we're talking about.
And does it need to be a formal program? I guess, like, those are some of the questions. That's what makes, right? Does it have to be a professional, or if they have somebody in their life that provides that service, is that sufficient too?
Just not sure what we're going to do with it.
Do we feel that it's important to have something like that in the survey?
I feel so, because there's a lot of people also having access. If someone is in a domestic situation, they will they do have access in that their household has access. They personally don't have access. So you can have that situation in one household, right?
I guess so. I just don't know if 1,000 people say no, what do we do with that? We don't know if it's domestic violence or if it's their
But
families.
it gives us a baseline, Susan, to go from. Like, not everyone, right?
So one of the things that has come up, even just from our first meeting, is communication and people's awareness of what exists. So, and that's something that this social task force could affect change in, is communication strategies and increasing community awareness to get information out. So I'm wondering, would it be, are you aware, or
Kim,
wonder-
could you put both? Do you feel that you have, or, okay, I had it in my head a minute ago. Do you feel that you can or have access? Does that work?
Then we're asking,
Yeah, 2 questions.
you're asking 2 different questions in one.
Right.
we want to know, I guess, if, do you feel that you have the support that you need? Is that too broad? And then if there was another question, are you aware of the mental health resources available in the community?
Yeah, maybe it is 2 separate questions and
Because I think measuring that awareness piece, I think, is big, because that's something that we talk about all the time, is, are people aware of the supports and resources that exist? So I think it's good to measure, but I think it's also good for us to know whether people feel that they have the support that they need during this time. And if we have a whole bunch of surveys that come back saying, no, I don't have the support that I need, then that would be us looking and going, okay, is it communication? What supports are necessary?
Right.
Does that make sense to people?
Yes.
So if
If
we
we say with the text box, if we put, if answered no, please provide more detail, or, so that they can tell us more of what support they do need.
yeah.
that would help. It's
That's
more
great.
work with the open-ended questions, but you really get more information too.
And then do you think we should follow that one with an awareness question as well, more around, are you aware of the mental health supports or mental health resources available in our community?
I think that'd be great.
Okay. Thank you, Nicole. And we'll work on making sure it's worded well and stuff. We'll go through and proof after. We'll just get the main ideas down right now.
Did you want to keep the mental health support in the first question? Because you were saying it without the mental health, but support can mean a lot of different things.
Do you guys like mental health support in there?
It's in the second one, so yeah, it might be better to leave it
Yeah.
out the first one.
Yeah. It's so hard typing in front of people, hey? There's no judgment here at all, Nicole.
I appreciate that.
So people feel good about those two?
So on number 9, are we talking about taking the mental health words out? and just saying support?
I thought did people say that they wanted them left in?
I think
Yeah.
support is really vague, and if we put the mental health in it, we know what we're trying to gauge there.
Yeah.
Mm, okay.
All right. We're making progress, you guys. We're at number 11. So now we're going into some kind of financial questions to see where people are at financially, what the economic kind of state is for people. So have you or anyone in your household lost their job because of the COVID-19 pandemic? And part of what we really love this question is the not yet, but gauging that people are concerned if things continue to go on to provide us with maybe a bit of what's going to happen in the future.
Can we put, are people able to tick off multiple ones in this one or just one?
It would probably,
I was
no, it would be multiple. It would be multiple there.
same thought that if
Yeah.
both of them lost their jobs, you'd put the first two.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next one is, are you currently working? So yes, remotely with reduced hours, increased hours, concerned of potential job loss, no laid off, no other reason, and then a text box.
So is it kind of repetitive to ask about the concern of potential job loss since we asked that in the one previous?
It is a bit of a duplication. What we could do is maybe add other boxes into the number 11. So it could be, no, but my hours have been reduced. And
Make it
simplify
but-
those. We will merge 11 and 12 together.
Mhm.
Okay. Number 13, since the COVID-19 pandemic, how has it been for you or your household to meet its financial needs? And then the rating scale for much more difficult to much easier.
Looks good.
And we're seeing families on the whole spectrum. Like some people right now are doing well because of all the government benefits. And then there's others that are struggling. So we're good there. Number 14, if the current public health response to the COVID-19 pandemic does not change for the next few months, what will happen to your financial situation?
Pretty straightforward.
We're good. Number 15, do you worry that food will run out before you receive money to buy more? So checking in on food security. Number 16, how likely is it that you will need to move within the next 6 months because you can no longer afford your current home? So this is a check-in around housing and rent and payments. And part of our concern is people losing their housing and what's going to happen. What are the strategies that we have to support our residents with that? Any questions or comments there? All right, I'm taking your silence as you're super happy with the questions, you guys. Number 17, have you?
Sorry.
Yeah.
For 15, can we answer the same way almost like we do with 16? Just it seems weird the wording. Can we go very likely, neither?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Just because it seems off compared to the other ones we had as well.
Okay. Nicole's already working on that change. And then we were curious about what relief services people are accessing to support their financial situation. So have you applied for any of the following financial relief services? So I have not needed them, or mortgage deferral, utility payment deferral, property tax deferral, credit card deferral, EI, the CURB, or other. This, we felt it was important from our perspective to have an understanding of what currently is happening, and if we have a whole lot of residents making those deferral payments, we're going to have some plans in place for some budgeting and potentially financial support for people. You guys are okay with that one?
I was just going to suggest that there might be a spot where individuals could put that they don't qualify for some of the benefits, but the other leaves that open for that.
Do you think it would be important to have that tick box, so Shara?
I don't know. What does everybody else think? Because they could put that in other, just because there are families or individuals that don't qualify for some of the benefits.
Would
Nope.
would that be a whole other question, that if you don't qualify for, like, in following that question, if you have answered, if you haven't, like, if none of these apply to you, maybe answer in detail? Or would that be a whole other question?
And what would we be hoping to get from that, Cindy?
Well, just with bringing up, there are definitely some people that don't qualify for any of this, but they're both husband and wife have both lost their jobs, or not completely lost their jobs, but they're now they're part-time. So they're still working, but they don't qualify for any of this, but they're still running short on their monthly bills, right? In which case, none of these still qualify, maybe.
Could we say, I'm in financial need, but do not qualify for programs?
Well, and I'm wondering if that would be, because everybody will qualify for some of these. I guess, like when I was just taking a closer look, like our utility payments or like mortgage deferral, property tax deferral. So the ones that you wouldn't qualify would be the CURB. And jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but I believe it would just be CURB and EI.
That's more what I was thinking too, Kim, is those two programs there where potentially people have had cuts in salary or time at work, hours reduction. And so they're not able to qualify for those two programs, but they are in some financial need. But again, the utility and the property tax deferrals, those are all open to anybody within the community.
I wonder if we have a I do not qualify for government financial relief services as one
Right.
of the tick boxes. And then what if they're ticking, I've deferred my mortgage, my utility payments, my property tax, but I don't actually qualify for these benefits. That might send us, help us create a picture of what's happening too.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, because another thing is when this is done, all these deferrals, if, you know, how are you going to pay the deferrals, right?
Especially if you don't qualify for the additional benefits, but your hours and finances have been cut.
It's like, awesome, now I have a huge bill.
Okay, so do you guys feel comfortable with that if we add the I do not qualify for the financial relief, government financial relief programs
Yeah.
as a tick box? Okay. Are we good to move on? from that one?
Sure.
Number 18. So thinking to after the COVID-19 pandemic, what is your outlook on your personal well-being?
It's a tough one to answer. Depends on what day it is.
And that's very true. And a lot of these questions, even the mental health ones, are going to depend on the day and the time of day that you're answering a lot of these questions. Do you like that question? Do you think it's valuable?
I'm not sure really how we would change it, except tell them to stop listening to so much news.
I think it might be a hard question to answer because there's still so many unknowns.
Mhm.
Are you thinking to remove this one?
I would.
I think so too. We could just get all not sure and not be able to do anything with that.
Okay, and we do need to whittle this down a little bit because we do have a lot of questions in here. So,
There is a lot and they're pretty deep. It takes a lot of thinking.
What about number 19? Thinking to after the pandemic, what is your outlook on how people will relate to each other?
Sorry, I just have to get my phone, guys.
Yeah, no worries, Cindy.
Hello?
I feel the same about that question. How do others?
Speaking.
You're thinking remove, Susan?
I would. It's similar to the other one, but I don't know what others think.
I think I saw Shara's head nod.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then number 20.
I think that one's worth keeping. It gives us a good indication of how things are going to progress as we continue to move through this.
I wonder about an open-ended thing, like why are they very concerned? Because they're going to spend all their savings, or their job's not going to exist, or whatever the reason is.
So make the whole question open-ended, or have a scale and then an opportunity for comment, Susan.
I'm not sure. I'm just wondering, like, if they say they're very concerned, then I would want to know, what are you concerned about?
Yeah, I agree. So we
So
could say if concerned, please comment.
Mm-hmm.
okay, so keep the scale, and then I think sometimes having those scaling questions are important because we are going to get those people that only want to tick boxes and
Mm-hmm.
provide their feedback. And then you do have, like, we do get a few people that love to write, right? And tell us our thoughts. So providing a combination maybe. I like tick box surveys, you guys. Those are the ones I do best. But we can definitely add a comment box after that one.
Sounds good.
All right. Number 21, would you visit a business or organization that is not considered essential if they had good measures in place, such as space to allow for physical distancing and frequent disinfecting of services? This question, I still need to run by Mike Corman with the Economic Task Force, but I know that they were interested in having or receiving some feedback on people's comfort level of getting back into the community. Are people worried about going into stores and different things? So I wanted to check with him around the wording of this, but that's why this one is in place. So open to feedback on wording or anything like that. But I know Economic they only surveyed businesses, and we're hoping to get a little bit of feedback from residents as well.
What would you think about a comment box on that one as well?
For sure.
Because it'd be interesting to know, like, is it because they're old or are they just having severe anxiety or what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. And this question is subject to change. I haven't had an opportunity to run it by him yet, but there will be something of some form, probably quite similar to this. So, and then the rest are, so number 22, in your opinion, what should the top priorities be for the Social Recovery Task Force, with a text box?
So now to ask that, are we going to be telling them what we are? Because probably most of them will never have heard of us.
So the way I stole this question from the Economic Task Force survey, I don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to see that one yet. They had this at the end. So when they started the survey, they had an overview of what the task force is, what the focus is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, as long as there's some context so they know what we're all about.
I thought this was a good one, just to see what the community thinks we
Mhm.
should focus on. Number 23, overall, how do you feel about the long-term future of Cochrane's social well-being? This was also stolen, but reworded from the Economic Task Force, and then communications put in 5 different faces, like one really grumpy face, right, to like one super happy face for people to rate.
So that's what you'll do there too.
Yeah. If you guys like the question and think it should, if it's valuable. Number 24, what has changed for the better for you since the COVID-19 pandemic?
I like that.
And I actually think we will get some really positive things back from the community, because like people are spending more time with their family and activities have stopped, and some of the rat race that we all find ourselves in has slowed down a little bit. So I'm hoping that we do get some good things. And then we followed that with what has changed for the worse for you since the pandemic, to get both sides.
Hi, guys. Sorry I'm late.
Hello, Mayor.
So we're just working through the survey, Jeff. We made it through all the questions and we're just on to the demographic part.
Cool.
So the rest of these questions, and there are a lot of demographics, so completely open to what this group feels is important. And again, we have to figure out, why do we want to know what's important and what are we going to use the information for? So age, do you feel age is an important demographic to capture?
I do feel that's one is important, yeah.
I concur, Shara. Gender.
Yeah, it would be helpful to know with some of the numbers, that are higher in females than males or whatever.
Okay. I identify as.
I'm not sure. Do we need sexuality in there?
I don't think so, but I don't want to come in at the 11th hour and change everything.
Terry, do you want to jump in?
I think in terms of running it by in terms of inclusion and looking at the diverse answers, it's open to that as well. But again, what the group thinks is certainly, I'm open to feedback.
Are we asking what culture people are from?
We ask everything in these questions. So we do have to remove some for sure.
And I'm wondering how much that'll help us.
If I can give feedback on what the Economic Task Force really, like, we struggle with the same thing. We went through every question, and at the beginning, we had a super long questionnaire that asked everything. And we all found all of them valuable. But then where we started to cut questions was, what could we as a task force do with that information? So if there's nothing that we can do with whether it be where you live or how old you are or what sexuality. It's while it might be important or interesting to know, what are we going to do as a task force with that information? Is it going to be, maybe, and I'm saying maybe we will, like, so if we want to help, like knowing that it's dads at home that are 80, that's a different set of, and I really went out there with that one. But really, that would be a different kind of assistance program geared to that versus, but if we don't care how, what community they live in, is it Glenbow or Sunset Ridge? Does that change what we do as a task force? So that was kind of the litmus test that we put in place, and that's kind of how we pared back. And I think we were at 30 and we got down to 20 questions.
Oh, okay. We were able to remove a couple from the actual question piece. So I think we did a pretty good job there. And we were asking very similar questions. Why do we need to know? What change can we affect?
Right.
These ones are hard. I do agree that age is really important to determine programming and supports for youth versus adults or seniors. Gender, we always ask this question too. But I think we decided to keep that one in. The identify as, this one I'm not sure. I'm completely open to feedback on what people think.
I like the inclusion part of that, and I think it's just really important right now, and I think it would make a difference with just the inclusion and the community, right? That we are progressive and everyone is included and their answers matter, right?
Mm-hmm. Other people feel the same?
Yeah, I guess it's always good to be inclusive. I just wonder if we want to shorten the survey, what are we really going to do with this information?
Why don't we start and keep moving, and then if we have to, we can come back and review it if we don't feel we've gotten rid of some of the other ones.
Mhm.
Is that fair? Relationship status. So single, married, common law, separated, divorced, widowed.
Would relationship status or family status be more applicable in this question? And the reason I ask that is if they're single and say live with 3 other people, it's a different kind of financial situation and social situation than if they're single and living alone. Or if they're divorced and have now a new family, the social aspect of things, the financial aspect of things change for that individual.
Yeah, no, I'm open to, definitely open to that change, Shara. Do we like the question? Do we think it's important for us to know?
I don't know if it's necessarily important knowing if they're single or married. I think I like Char's whether, like the financial part, like do you live by yourself? Do you have children? I think the whole
But that's
family.
coming. The children part is coming. But I don't think we asked a living question of, oh yeah, we did. How many people in your household? So those questions are all coming.
Yeah, this might be repetitive because we gathered some of this information in previous questions by, did you lose your job or your partner lose their job?
Yeah, so we can take out relationship. Next one is I have a disability or challenge, physical, visual, hearing, cognitive, other.
When you guys do these surveys, do you get, do people fill all these out? We usually get like a high response rate on all these types of questions.
We typically have and these questions fall at the end after the survey as well. So we have them answering the survey questions prior to the demographics.
Okay.
I guess I'm still struggling with what we'll do with this too, because if someone has a physical disability, what are we going to do about it?
Do you want to take this one out?
Just not sure how helpful it is. Like, we've asked enough open-ended questions that if, you know, a whole bunch of people said they,
Information could come out. Yeah.
The other thing we could do is at the end ask, and we did this with the economic task force as well, because there were some questions we were like, we want to know what business it is, but we don't want to deter someone from answering because they don't want to give up their anonymity. Yeah, I said that right. So maybe we have a question at the end. Is there any information that you'd like to share that wasn't asked? And it might cover some of this stuff, right?
Yeah, I believe we have that at the bottom.
Okay.
I have a visual and a hearing problem, but hasn't deterred me from doing what I want to do. So keep forgetting to put my hearing aids in though.
So consensus, we remove that one? I'm seeing some head nods. What about 31? Looking at ethnicity.
I guess it's interesting to know, but we already know that people of color are going to have a lot harder time than anybody else, as usual. So what do we do with it?
And I think that the question below, where we understand whether they're new to Cochrane, new to Canada, gives a better sense of kind of where the struggles might be versus, you know, their ethnic background and what they identify with. I don't know. Just
So remove 31, keep 32.
Yeah, I'd agree too.
Okay. Any changes to 32? To the drop down?
You've got other there, so if we miss something, I can put it in.
Okay.
I would just say, like, what are you going to do? So if I'm a temporary resident, what can we do as a task force to help that person?
We could work with the immigration committee to put on better programs and give them some money or something.
Okay, great answer.
Some of your spare money, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, student visa, Susan. What would we do with student visa? I'm just teasing. 33.
Which of the following best describes where you live? Town, county, MD of Bighorn, Stony Nakota, or other?
Are we sharing this out to Stony and the rural? Or
Well,
is
in
it-
case it hits out, it's social media, so we don't necessarily have control. So that would help us know who's responding to it in case it does.
Mhm.
It does shoot out because our stuff tends to move fast.
Okay.
Type of home do you live in? So single, semi-detached, townhouse, basement, suite, apartment, or condo, and way more as we go down. Do we care? People's thought?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Remove number 34.
I would agree. I don't know what we would do with it.
What about 35? Current housing situation.
I think we keep that one. That's a good one.
it also goes with the question about whether or not you could keep your housing in the next 6 months.
Yeah, and we were curious whether it was difficulty with mortgage or if it's renters are going to be having the the struggles.
It might make sense to move it up with that other question we had about living situation.
And put it right into the actual survey questions.
It's up to you. Doesn't matter to me, but I just thought might be an idea.
And then the rest, a lot of these are how many people are living in your household. We thought it was important to break out some of those ages to determine what kind of families we're looking at and who's having struggles. But open to suggestions on that if you think they should be combined more.
I wonder if you should put 65 instead of 60, because there's so many programs you can't apply for at 60.
Okay. And then the income question. I think, I don't know how people feel about including the income question. To us, it was an important one to see who's being impacted by COVID and what that looks like, because I think it's going to be very different. I think our lower income families that we traditionally are supporting, I think that income's actually going to move up with the families that are going to be having the struggles.
Do we want to ask the question if it's pre-COVID or post-COVID?
So it's for the last tax year.
Okay, yeah, I see that now. Sorry.
It's kind of wordy. There's a lot to it.
Maybe if we underline that, or yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Or we could just,
The 2019 tax year?
yeah, we could just change it to 2019 for. And then do you guys, what do you think about education? Is that important? Not education as a whole for society, but for the survey.
I don't think that one is going to get us much.
Okay.
We can't change anyone's education status.
And then, sorry?
I agree that it should come out. You could have a trade and make more money than somebody that's got a university. It doesn't really mean much.
And then number 44, how do you find information regarding services, programs, and events? We put this in to address some of those communication challenges that we've been talking about.
I like this one.
And again, is it worded similar to what we did in Cochrane Cares?
I would have to go, I think this one might have came directly from there, Susan, but we can check that.
Nice to compare and see if there's any big change.
We did try to take some weren't applicable. I don't know if you remember the one question that measured isolation and loneliness. But we couldn't use it because we're all isolated and we'd all answer that and we'd get skewed results. So, and then we left an open comment box at the bottom, and then also offering people to provide their contact information if they wish to be contacted or followed up with.
Good.
Overall, feel okay about it?
Do we know how many questions we're down to?
1, 2, 3.
So if we,
Monica's going to do some quick math for us.
I won't talk then while you're counting.
$37.
Just a point about the collecting their name and their email. Are we promising them anything? Do we want to say that we'll send them the results, or like, why are we asking for that?
Well, one of the things that have gone through our mind that we've had discussions around is if people provide their name and are willing to participate and receive additional surveys, it allows to see changes over time. So we would have the same people answering surveys repeatedly, which actually gives us a true measure of what's happening and what's changing for individuals over time as a result of COVID.
Should we put a short statement about that?
Yep. Because it's great to send out repeat surveys to the community, but if we don't know, it's not necessarily the same people answering them over and over again, so it doesn't give you that true data continuum of changing circumstances. So yeah, we can definitely add that in. Well, can you scroll up to the top of the actual questions before demographics to see how many actual real questions we have? So we have 23 actual, like of the survey questions, and then we have 20 demographic questions, I believe. Almost.
I hate to be that person, but what if we took a look at number 7? I don't know what we may get from number 7 because we asked number 8 right after it, which gives us our sort of answer we want. But from number 7, I don't know if it's going to necessarily add anything.
Yeah, true. We can remove that.
Yeah, I agree. I would take that one out as well.
So we're down to 21, I think, you guys, of questions. Any other questions that you
What else were we going to look back at? The sexuality one, since we've taken out the culture, should we take it out too?
Well, similar to your point before, would we be able to increase programming based off of answers to that question? Would funding be maybe redirected in different routes?
Yeah, that's possible.
Well, and grant applications are dependent on providing certain data to determine eligibility. So if you can't give them the data or have a baseline, it's hard to, convince those that you're trying to get money from with respect to grants that you have a need in your community if we don't have a baseline from which to draw.
Good point.
What did you guys decide on question 1?
we changed it to be worded around pre-COVID. So
Okay.
providing a response of how your mental health was pre-COVID. So it's more of a, gives us more of a comparison from prior to where people are now.
Yeah, no, that was the one I was actually focused on when I read through these yesterday.
It
Was
should,
that intro, that how are we setting up
it
the
should
rest of the survey?
was at the end of the sentence.
Sorry, Susan, I spoke over top you there.
Sorry, it should say was at the end of the sentence, how your well-being was pre-COVID.
And we'll go through and wordsmith and make all that changes. Jeff, you missed going through, you just jumped in at demographics. Was there anything else regarding the survey that you had questions about? No,
I read through it yesterday. Like I assumed you guys that we would do this, go through and pare it back a little bit. But otherwise I'm no professional in this field other than my feedback that I gave already, plus the, I think the shorter the survey, the more apt people are to fill it in. But if you're getting responses back from people on let's go for it. That's my long way of saying no.
Okay, perfect. Nicole's at number 4. This was one that we talked about as well, that we had some questions. We landed on doing a scaling question for this one. Is that still, people are still feeling good about leaving this one in and doing a scaling similar to the number 2 question where it was very concerned to not concerned at all?
I like it.
Okay. Perfect. So next steps, we will take it away. I have pages of notes from all of your feedback. So we'll get that incorporated and then we'll take it to our communications team to take a look at and provide their expertise and advice. And you may see a little bit of wording changes just as we go to communications. And then I'll also be connecting with Mike from the Economic Task Force as well to clarify that one question that we looked at to see if that actually meets the needs that he was hoping it would. So Nicole, I'm looking to you for process. Do we need to move anything? Okay, so can I get somebody to make a motion to direct us to go revamp the survey with the recommended changes?
Oh,
Lauren. Awesome. Great, thank you. All right, so we're going to jump into new business, and I did reveal a little bit, but with the communication strategy, we wanted to talk a little bit about the survey and figure out how do we disseminate this to people. One of the questions on the survey was, do you have access to technology? And we know not everybody does. So I'm going to pick on Terry and see if she wants to share her brilliant idea with the group. I'm really excited about it.
I don't know if it's brilliant, but it's an idea. For those that don't have access to technology, can we put it in the paper? I know a lot of our seniors there are some seniors that don't have access to technology or they're not comfortable with it, but I do know many of them read the Cochrane papers cover to cover, or we could put an insert in it as well. And it would also allow us to use it at our office at FCSS for those that don't have access to technology to complete it. They could put it once completed in the door. We have that little slot that's open there that many people in our community that don't have access to technology, they often do drop in their forms or other forms of communication using that as a resource. So it's just one thought, open to feedback.
I like the newspaper idea. I know there's a lot of people still read it.
Mhm.
Social media.
I like it too.
No, I would
Terry.
agree.
It's a great option. Even for some of our clients with Helping Hands, we could drop the form off for them to fill out and they could return it or we could pick it up from them. It just gives so many different options.
Perfect. So we did connect with our communications team, Nicole did, and they have said it's a possibility. So that would help make sure that we're reaching everybody. We'd have all our traditional website, social media, those methods. And then we'd also have the good old fashioned paper form that people could pen and paper to it, do their tick boxes and drop it off. So that was a big reveal of the brilliant idea. You guys, I'm so excited about it.
Kim?
Pardon me?
You got the money to do all this?
We'll talk to communications and see how much it's going to be. I think it's important. I honestly think if we just go social media, we're going to miss a whole lot of people and we keep talking about how do we reach those that are hard to reach. And I think this is the way that will be the.
Just to add as well, Kim, in some of the research studies I sort of went through as I was going down the rabbit hole of many, particularly a couple that they used in BC, if they mentioned they had it on Facebook, but also said, you may have a friend, and we've seen this in our office as well. Someone may, want to make a request for a hamper and they don't have money for their phone, or they don't have a phone, but they have people that they are connected to that have phones. So they use their phone line. So one of the options is to post on Facebook and mention to people to share with your friends, as well as being able to use their phone to do the survey through the phone. So not just one, you're sharing your technology between one another. And we've seen other examples of this in our office as well.
Yeah, I think the more methods that we can get it out, the better. I did a quick presentation to Interagency yesterday as well. So we had 33 organizations online that all said that they were willing to share it with their people. So I think we will get this out in a big way, hopefully. What would you consider to be success? How many surveys returned to us would be considered successful?
Good question. So how many households do we have, Mr. Mayor?
8,000.
The newspaper goes to about 11,000 people. Just knowing that from how many bags we had to purchase for the spring food drive, but it's about 11,000 for where the newspaper goes.
Goes to the rural area too.
And business.
Mm.
What's your usual response rate when you send out a survey like this, when we have in the past?
For Cochrane Cares, I think we had, I want to say 750 people respond to the survey.
Why don't we use that number then?
750?
Well,
That's our target?
what it's going to be, right? But you never know. Like we may get more people responding. I mean, all of the organizations that I frequent, we're all looking at some form of community engagement, whether it be the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board or the land use bylaw review. We're all anticipating more people to respond because people are at home.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we might get 1,000 people. So.
Oh, we will.
Yeah.
We will, Mayor Chenung. No, that's awesome. I just like to know before we send it out what we consider successful, so we can kind of measure that as well.
Sorry to interrupt. If you're talking to when you're talking to communications, can you ask them if they can provide us data as we go? Instead of waiting till, say, and I don't know how long we're going to put this out there for, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. But if we could get some data and, maybe we don't come to a conclusion, but maybe we can start to see some trends early so we can start making some plans around how we can address those.
Yeah, definitely. We could bring that back to each meeting as it's coming in.
As I know, the Economic Recovery Task Force survey went out on Monday. As of Tuesday night, we had 64 completed surveys already.
Wow.
So I don't know, that's a good number?
Well, in 24 hours, right?
That's a quick response.
2 days, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Are we going to put on there to ask for a response date by, or are we just kind of leaving it open?
We'll have to have a date they should have it in by, I would think.
So in an ideal world, we will make the changes, have it to communications early next week with the goal. We'll have to talk to them about the paper. The only thing that could delay, we could launch earlier on social media and have it come out the following week in the newspaper. So we could have it launched on social media perhaps late next week if communications, I'm just not sure about their timeline. So that'll be the the varying factor here, but potentially next week we could have it launched on social media with it being in the paper Wednesday, Thursday, the 10th or 11th of June.
So that coincides with when I'm due to have my article in the newspaper. It'll come out on the 11th at the Eagle, so I could do an article the same week as it's in the paper.
That would be fantastic, Susan.
Can you help me?
I will. That sounds great. So there's a couple of things. I know it's 20 after 2 already. We do have communication strategy under new business. Jan reached out to me last week, and Jan, I don't know if you're prepared. We and you haven't connected before the meeting since we chatted on the weekend, but if you're prepared to talk a little bit about your idea, and then maybe we could talk more next week as well.
Sure. I have been investigating what's called virtual town hall meetings. So these are done strictly on the telephone. So it includes everybody. You can share any information you have. And I know that several communities are doing this. I checked with Chestermere, they've had 2 of them already. There's quite a few in Ontario are doing them. So you have a format whereby there's a call out the day before or a week before. They say, if you're interested in participating in this, expect a phone call the day and time. Then it's all done and they call you. You don't have to log in or do anything else, and no technology is involved. And then you do like a presentation part. So the mayor, the community health people, or whoever you want to have on your panel do an introduction. Then there's a question and answer period. So Chestermere offered that it was probably good to have about 8 questions, which are pre-screened by either the company that you're hiring to do it or by people in the town office. And then they have the ability to do some polling questions as well. And they answer the polling questions with their keypad on their phone. They can get all the numbers for you as well. So if you don't have a phone number list, they can actually give you access to that through their resources. And then they give constant feedback. You get immediate feedback. You get a detailed, comprehensive reporting afterwards about all the different questions that were asked. Even if they didn't make it on air, you still get all of those. And if people want information back, they can leave their phone number and all that kind of stuff. Sounds very interesting to me. It's a way to reach a lot of people as well. And the people that I've spoken to that have had those town hall meetings are very, very interested in them. They're saying they're a really great tool. I don't know if you talked to the mayor of Chestermere, has he mentioned anything about them?
That's me.
Jeff? Yeah,
Yeah,
Jeff, sorry.
Yeah, no, I have. I actually, Susan and I have participated in a couple with the province. I agree, they're an excellent tool. I've asked our staff to look at doing them for our own community. Throughout COVID, we were trying to find different ways to reach people. And Rebecca from my department here, or my team, has done some pretty in-depth research on it. They're fairly expensive, depending on what level of service that you want to go with. But they're around $7,000 a call and up. So I don't want cost to deter us, but it depends on if you have a moderator, if you have a company. I think we need a company, but what level of service that you pick from that company.
One of the things that I was thinking about is not to take it all on Cochrane, but to include perhaps the MP, Blake Richards, and the MLA, and have them defer some of those costs. I did get much less quotes. I got anywhere from $4,000 to $7,500. $4,000 to $7,500 was the range that they gave me. Okay. I checked with 2 different companies. I haven't found a third yet. I usually try to do 3 quotes, but I was very excited about it. I thought it was very interesting concept.
I love the idea. I just think it's a great way of reaching everyone. Everyone's got a phone, old school rotary phone, or you can do it from a pay phone if you want to. So
They will also take cell phone numbers, so it doesn't just have to be landlines. They will use cell phone numbers as well. So I thought it might be something interesting.
Wood Buffalo used them quite a bit with their flooding and the pandemic up in Fort McMurray, and they've done, I think, 5 or more of them, and they've really seen great success with them.
Yeah, I still have
And
a Wood Buffalo number, and so I get called. I even got called this week. I get called every week to let me know about what's going on and that I can log on or join.
Wow.
We're actually going to be on one, Kim and I, tomorrow or later tonight with the town that's for the seniors. So I thought that was a good way to find out more about it as well.
Is that with AHS or with?
Province it for senior serving organizations.
Oh,
Yeah, ACES will be on there.
I like them. If we can do it, I would say we should do it.
Well, I think if the amount of people that you're reaching or potential for reaching, I think the cost is not excessive.
Yeah.
I mean, look how much it cost us just to send out that little postcard.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you print it and mail it, it costs quite a bit. I think it's very comparable to this.
But maybe we can piggyback on with the economic task force on something, or maybe there's something else, right, that we can cost share on this.
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely you could have, the more people that you have involved, the better. I don't think you want to discount doing it with the economic. I think that's a valuable part of it.
Yeah.
Just like I think that the MP and those people would be very valuable on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my idea for today.
Thanks for doing all that.
Hang on.
So I know we are reaching 2:28 and we are to be wrapped up by 2:30. We do have roundtable left on the agenda. Is there anybody that wants to start or something to share? Susan.
I just want to say thanks to you guys for all your work on the questions, and Terry for pulling it together, and Nicole. You guys did an awesome amount of work on it. Thank you.
Virtual clap.
Thanks, everyone. It wasn't, it was, we ran it by our staff. We ran it by, so there's been lots of, it's met through lots of eyes. So thank you.
I have a couple things, Kim, if you don't mind. I was in between virtual meetings yesterday. I was doing a little research, and I came up with, and I'm great at this, and people hate me for it. And it's, here's some ideas. I don't know where they go or what to do with them. I'm just going to throw them out there. This statement I thought was really appropriate. We would like to remind residents that support is available from a variety of local organizations should they wish to reach out for assistance in dealing with feelings of sadness, anxiety, or other natural emotional responses to the situation that's occurring. And I can share this so you guys don't have to write it all down, but I just think that it kind of got me thinking about what it is as a task force that really we're tasked to do. Mm-hmm. And then the next one I found on a different website was just simply put, connect, share, cope. An online discussion forum where you can offer support, encouragement, and share your experiences with managing your stress and anxiety related to COVID-19. So that might be a good intro to one of those telephone town hall meetings, if we were to go that way. And then that got me thinking about what is it that we're attempting to do? What issues or problems are we addressing? and what do we have control or influence over? And I think I brought that up when we were talking through the survey, but just as a way of, as a group, what are we seeing, and what are we being mindful of, and how can we help people? So.
Absolutely. I think the survey is that very first step in helping us get a handle on some of the needs. We also, before you joined, had a discussion on surveying organizations as well, to be able to understand where our organizations, our nonprofit social organizations at, what is capacity, what do they need in order to help us deal with the needs that we will be or are currently seeing. So we'll take a stab at that over the next week and have probably a very rough draft ready for you guys to take a look at next week for organizations, and submitting those 2 surveys kind of simultaneously to get feedback both from residents and the organizations. The other thing that was on my mind as well is grant funding. So I was hoping to be able to add that maybe to our agenda next time and talk about grants, take a look at what's out there. So once we hear back and find out what these needs are, then we have what we need to be able to apply for some resources and have a discussion around, do we as a task force apply for money, and do we look at things on more of a global basis, or is our job to spread the word and help organizations apply for those individual dollars as well? So those are some of the conversations that I'm hoping to throw on our agenda next time. Is there, I know we're late, you guys. Usually I never end meetings late. This is the one thing I'm good at is keeping time. Is there any other updates or anything that people want to share?
You can blame me, Kim. I came in late.
I will.
And I was giving my Facebook Live update today. That's why I was late. It wasn't because I got stuck in traffic or anything. So.
No, I did let people know that, Jeff. I had your back today. Do people feel good about where we're going in the process and how things are working at these meetings? It's working for everybody? Awesome. All right, and timing. So last time we did talk about continuing Thursdays at 1 o'clock. Is that still good for people? I'm getting thumbs up. Excellent.
Would Wednesdays work at all for anyone?
Wednesdays?
Mm-hmm.
I have the Economic Recovery Task Force Thursdays from 4 to 6. Otherwise, sure.
Sorry, on Thursdays, Jeff, or Wednesday? You have the.
Oh, sorry, Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what you asked.
I know your schedule. I know the economic.
I have a reoccurring meeting Wednesdays at 1.
Me too.
Are Thursdays at 1 difficult for you?
I can try to move things around, make it work.
Okay, well, let's try next week, Natalia, and then if you're having problems, we can take a closer look at our calendars and see what we can do, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys. Have a great week, and we will see you all next Thursday at 1 o'clock.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.